Dear participants, we are here for the SWAM platform and I'm here to discuss about the topic in the SWAM platform that I have uploaded. It is personal administration. As we all know that the country's functioning completely depends on administration. And when we say administration, administration is not related with the government only. The administration is related to each and every act that is being carried out by the individuals, by the family, by the state, by the country, or by any of the international organizations. So, in that way, we can say that it is a very interesting and very important topic for everyone. This topic is important in academic areas also. We know that the government makes policies and programs by going through the public opinion, their demands. And this public policy that is framed by the government, that is actually been framed, discussed, not only the step how it has to be started, but also how much resources is required for that in the terms of human beings and in the terms of financial aspects also. So what we find, it gives a job to the country young generations and also give an area where the government can utilize the resources in such a manner that maximum output can be gained with minimum input in the form of finances. So there it becomes very important for the success of the government on the basis of the functioning. The popularity is the basic pillar of the democracy. So we know that the government has to go for the welfare activities. And when the government has to go for welfare activities, government needs finances. Without that, they cannot do that. So, and the country like India, where we find that more than 50% the people below the poverty line, and the maximum of the population is not in the position of paying a taxes to the government, and those who are in the position of paying a taxes, they cannot be overloaded with the taxes by the government, because that creates a dissent from the people against the government. So government wants popularity among the masses also. So what is the question before the government? The government is that whatever resources they are having, that resources how it can be utilized so that the majority of the population is satisfied. Most of the demands of the people can be fulfilled. Every area that is needed for the human beings can be taken care of very carefully, and that is only possible when we are very expert in the area of administration. So in that circumstances, what we can say that when we say administration, we are not only talking about the implementation of the policy. When we say administration, we means that every branches which is attached with the government, every aspects which are attached with the people has a meaning with the administration. Students who wants to become a civil servants, students who wants to get a government job, students who wants to become a good position, get a good position in the private organization, students who wants to be a part of public enterprises, all those peoples must study this subject which is known as the personal administration. It is very important area. So whenever they appear for the competitive examinations, they will find the questions which is related with the personal administration. This subject is much more important when you are facing the interview. We are going the interview, there are the questions which is asked which has related with the personal. Number of the things, the question that is having a meaning in related to the personal administration. So as a student of personal administration, you must be having a very good positions in everywhere, whether you are in your family where you have to manage all the resources that you are having, how to get the maximum output from the resources that your family is earning. When you are in the state administration, you can prove yourself a good administrator by knowing all the aspects of the administration. When you are in the government, becomes a ministers, you can do something by which you can streamline your own administration, your officers, in the form of an administrative capability. So that is very important, that you must take care of when you are talking about the personal administration. When we go the area that we think that what we have to go with the personal administration, we find that in the personal administration gives an idea that you, if you want to have a proper person for the proper place, what are the steps that you have to take. We know that in the past, when you go through example for United States of America, before 1883 they were having a system which was known as the spoil system. In this spoil system, whichever party used to come into power, the party selects their party personnel, workers in the various positions. And they think that the administration is very simple activities. It does not need any expertise, or a common man can handle the issues of administration. But where the time passed, it was found that these people who has been picked up is not contributing anything for overall development of the country. And not only that, corruption has become a very common in the every part of our administration. And the dissatisfaction among the people was so high that one of the president at Garfield has been assassinated because of this appointment or recruitment system. So they passed an act which is known as the Pendleton Act and decided that no, if you want to have a good administration, there must be a proper recruitment system. They established an organization for the purpose of recruitment itself. So when we go to United Kingdom, there also they were having a system which was a patronage system. There also they were appointment on the favoritism in the line of the party. Later on, they also found that it is very difficult to carry out, and they have constituted a committee which is known as the Northcote Trevelyan Committee. And this committee gave a report in 1853, and they started the recruitment process properly, that we say the merit system of recruitment. In India, in 1883 itself, Macaulay Committee has recommended for this, and they started this. In France, they were having a sale of office where they used to sell the post in the market to gain resources for the administrative activities, but that also failed. The French Revolution has changed it, and they also adopted this system that we known as the merit system of recruitment. So that shows the different countries had the practices of different type of the recruitment, but all this system of recruitment has not proved to be good for their administration. So finally, the administration that we are having in the form of a good administration is start from the process of recruitment. And we adopted this system of recruitment in India also, which we called a merit system of recruitment. And we have said in our constitution, part 2, chapter 2, part 13 of the constitution, where article 315, 16, 17, all these are talking about the institutions which is known as the Union Public Service Commission. When you go through article 320, it says the functions of the Union Public Service Commission, which is focused on the proper recruitment system that is there. So if something is there in the constitution, that means it is very important for the country. It is essential that this step has to be taken care of, and it has to be followed as the spirit of the constitution says. So we are having this system of a merit system of recruitment through the competitive examinations. Now, the system of recruitment that we are having in India, we recruit the persons directly from the colleges. The students who have completed the graduation within 3 to 4 years, the age bar is there. They are appearing for the competitive examinations. When the student appears for the competitive examinations, he does not know what type of the job he is going to get. On the basis of merit, he is been given different positions in the administration. So when he enters the administration, he is coming from one environment, which is academic environment, coming to the office environment. So there is a need of a training of this person, how the office works, what is the office manual, what is the administrative act, what is the constitutional act. All these are to be known to these people who are new entrant in the government services. And those who are becoming an IAS, they go Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, Missouri, for the purpose of training. In Hyderabad, there is Police Academy for the police person who is known as the IPS. So these institutions are created for the purpose of the training. So what we feel that not only a proper recruitment is a complete act of a proper functioning of administration, training has equally very important. In 1968, the Fulton Committee report of United Kingdom has said that the failure of the government in every aspect is because of the lack of the training. So the focus must be there at training in the system of the administration. So there is a need of training. In a committee of Rajasthan has suggested that this training is something which is a continuous process. If it starts from the time of the recruitment and ends at the threshold of the retirement of the employees. They said that there is first refresher course. They said that there will middle management course. They said that the second refresher course. Then they said a higher management course. What does it mean? It means that when a person who is there in the offices, he must be equipped with the new ideas that is emerging in the world, a new concept that is required for the purpose of proper administrative activities for there. So a person who is appointed after completing 5 years in the field work, he is being called for the purpose of a training. And when he is called for the purpose of a training, so all the people who are coming of having 5 years of the experience of the administration, they are coming from different areas, and every area is having a different problem. Somewhere there is a flood problem, some there is a problem, a hill area problem, some there is a communal sensitive areas. So there are some are coming from desert area. So everyone is having a different problem. So these people comes together, they share their experiences with them, and they understand that if this type of the problem comes in their own positions when they are holding in different areas, they must be equipped for that. They must know that how this has to be handled, how to become a good actor in the form of administration. So that makes a person equipped with the new technology, new method, new procedure, and that gives an energy to the new entrants in the administration. I said that in the thread there is a higher management course. In the higher management courses, what it happens, the person who is at the threshold of retirement having 4 years, any services, whether you want to go for the private services or the government services. Majority of the people, almost everyone will say that they want to go for the government service. Why? Because there is a very important aspect which is attached with the government service. What is that? There is a system of promotions. This incentives which is given to the people who are hard working, who is capable enough to show his ability in the administration, can be moving rapidly to the higher positions. A person can enter in the office as a clerk, and he may retire at the positions where he can be known as joint secretaries or additional secretaries. This is the incentives which is attracts the talents to the administration. So the talented people thinks to be part of the government rather than to go the private sector where they will have to work much and may have higher salary, other facilities. So we must find that how this promotion process should be established so that most talented persons can be incorporated, can be given the position in the system of administration. Generally, we find that there is two types of the people who are in the administration. One is known as the generalist, other is known as the specialist. Two types of work. There is two directions which is coming from administration. One direction is that they are looking after the general activities of administration. Another is that who is looking after technical aspects of the administration. Two parallel administration is working in the offices. You will find that in office there is a person who is known as the IS officer sitting there. In the same office you will find there is an engineer, or there is a doctors or other field, specialized field. They are also been part of that administration. What is things that makes these peoples different with each other? So in the personal administration, we identify one of the person as a generalist, other as an specialist. How the system we can say who are the generalists and who are the specialists? Simply we say that if any type of the recruitment process which has clear indications of having a specialized qualification for a particular job, then that type of the personals will be known as the specialist. So if there is a vacancy in the medical sector, MBBS doctors are only eligible for that. Any vacancies there in the engineering sector, engineer who has BTech, they are only eligible. So these type of the persons are known as the specialist. No, but what we find that when we say the generalist, in the generalist we say that a common entrance test is conducted by the Union Public Service Commission, and in that test every graduate, whether he is a medical specialist, whether he is an engineer or arts background, commerce background, all are appearing for the competitive examination, and they are selected in that competitive examination, becomes an officer. Now there are different officers were there, but the system in India is that there are the people who is selected through the common entrance test, but when he is been designated certain positions, his services been classified with a specialized thing. For example, that a person who is been appointed as an Indian Revenue Officer. When he is appointed an Indian Revenue Officer, then the very first day he enters in the office, he is concentrating on the area where the resources, finances, money, policies are associated. He is not talking about the law and order. He is not talking about any technical problems, but he is only discussing, going through the various acts, policies, files relating to the finance. So what happens that after some years doing the job in this particular area, he becomes a specialist of that area. Though he is coming from the background of engineering, he may be coming from the background of medical, he may be coming from the background of arts, but because of working for so much period of time, he becomes the expert in that particular area, and he is having more knowledge of the finance rather than the people coming from the economics or the commerce. So what does we say? These people are known as the specialists, though they are coming from different qualifications. All this background, but we find there is one person who is not having such a specialization in administration, that is IAS, Indian Administrative Services. Because these are the people who is shifted from one offices to the other, and every office having different nature of the work. A person becomes the head of education. He is looking at the educational work of the country. After some time, he is transferred and become the secretary of the health. Now he start looking after the problem issues and various aspects of the health. Then he is transferred and he becomes the secretary in the home affairs. His nature of work differs. So what it means, he is not concentrating on a particular discipline for much year of time. So he is not been identified and a specialist of that area. So in that scenario, we can say that when we want to identify who is a journalist, who is a specialist, then we can say very clearly that whether the person is selected on the basis of a specialized qualification, they are a specialist. But at the same time, the person who is selected on the basis of a general qualification, but they can also become a specialist, and only one of the group who is not a specialist, is journalist, is known as the IAS. So when we say controversies between journalists and specialists, it is actually controversy between IAS and rest of the administrators who are there in the administration. That is the basic differences that we want to identify, who is known as the journalist and who is known as the specialist. The question is that there is a controversies between these two peoples. They people do not like each other. There is a reasons behind it. And the government from time to time try to cover up these differences, have taken certain steps which have reduced this conflict, but this conflict is still existing. What happens that any policies programs is formulated by a specialist, And it has been framed in such a manner that a rigorous exercise has been carried out by this specialist. And it is found that it is a very fruitful policy for the government and gives good advantages to the people. But final decision has to be taken by that IAS who is not the specialist in that area. He can say no, he can say right, he can put a remark, and on the basis of that, final decision is taken by the ministers. So that actually becomes the cause of conflict between the IAS and the specialist. Specialist thinks that they are the peoples who knows better than this IAS, but they are the IAS who only having the final to say yes or no to the file. That becomes some. Second is that the qualification of the IAS, maybe he simply graduate. The person who is the medical field, he is in the MS, MD, and the people who is there in the engineering field, maybe BTech, MTech. So the qualification is very high, but the comparison, the salary that has been given to them, these technocrats or this specialist having a lower level of the salary in comparison with this IAS officer. That also a part of differences. So now this controversy is still existing, but the government has taken a step. For example, you see that the government is having an advisors, the defense advisors. The defense advisors are those people who are having equal status with that of the secretary or the cabinet secretary, because these people are getting good salary, having a good position in the administration. So government is taking steps, but we say that there is a need of much reforms in the administration in the area of controversies between the journalist and the specialist. Now there is an issues which is there in the system that is also has to be taken very carefully in the system of administration. We say that we have a system of a recruitment, we have a proper system of training, we have a proper system of promotion. But what we find that there is a need of reforms of all these aspects which becomes a part of the administration. And that reforms must be focused on the area of neutrality, in the area of the anonymity. There are the cases where the suggestions which is coming from the administrators who are experts, who have done a lot of work for that. And when it comes to file to the ministers are taking a decision which is against these policies which is framed by the administrators. Because these politicians are something in their mind, and they are the peoples who are been selected from the people and the part of the sovereignty of the state. It becomes his authority to take the decision. So there is a need of a proper communications with the ministers and the administrators who are there in office. Every things which is a good point in the policies, and there are policies which need certain changes must be properly communicated by every part of the administrative peoples who are attached with that. So we say that there is a need of a proper communications. There is a need of an accountability. There is a need of an anonymity. There is a need of having a neutrality in the system of government. United States of America, there is a concept of neutrality. Their concept of neutrality says that every minister who becomes a new minister after the change of government, that minister is fully confident that the officers who is there in the office as a subordinate officer, administrator, they are people who will always be loyal to the minister no matter who he comes to the power. Confidence of the ministers towards the administration, that is the concept neutrality that we find in United Kingdom. Now these administrators who are the subordinate officers of the ministers, they are confident that whosoever comes to the power, who becomes the minister, that these people is not going to take any steps which can harm the prospects of their promotions and other aspects in the administration. That means these civil servants are having full confidence on the ministers. Same way, the people having a full confidence on the administrators. They know that whatever acts they are doing, whatever activities going on, that activities will be based on the full proof against the corruption and will be properly implemented for the welfare of the people. So that is what we want to have in the administration, in the form of a confidence from the ministers, confidence from the civil servants, confidence from the
people. This administration, personal administration, when we say the personal administration, actually based on the constitutions of the various countries. Every country is not having same type of the personal administration. It differs from the country to country. When we say the France, we say it is administrative states. Why we said administrative states? Because in France, when you go through the France, there is a frequent change of government that was happening in before 1958 when they adopted the Fifth Republic. So this frequent change of the government makes the officers or administrator more stronger in comparison to the ruler who comes to the power. So there was concentration of power of the hand of this administrator, and this used to grow up in the form of strength and power in the functioning of administration. In 1958, they adopted the Fifth Republic. And in this Fifth Republic, the system that they have developed, that system has given an importance to the administrator much higher in comparison with the other countries. For example, we take in India. In India, the Indian administrators, who is the part of the civil servants, they are not been allowed to contest the elections. They cannot use their offices for the benefit of any political party. They cannot use their resources for the benefit of any political party. They cannot become the member of any political party. So there is a strict restrictions on them. There are limited political rights they are having. Only thing is that they can only cast the vote. When you go to United States of America, they are also having these types of restrictions in the system where minimum political rights are there. But when we come to the France, in France, we said that every administrator having a right to contest the election. When they contest the election and they become the member of the parliament, and if they are appointed for a period of 5 years, then that means that this 5 years period they ceases to be the civil servant and becomes the member of the legislative body. The moment they complete this tenure of the legislative body, he can come back and becomes the member of civil servant and enjoys all the facilities of the civil servant. Not only that, these 5 years they have invested in as a legislature, that is also been counted in their seniority. Before that, in France, it was that the person who is civil servant may also act as civil servant and will also be the legislature. You know, they have changed the system. Only one activity is to be carried out. But they don't have to resign to contest the election. They do not lose the services when they become the legislature. They enjoy all the facilities that is there the moment they complete the tenure as a legislator, come back to the civil services. In India, we don't have so. So that because of that, I told you, the system of the personal administration varies from country to country, and that basically depends on the system the constitution is having. In United States of America, I told you that they were having a spoiled system. Because of the assassination of Garfield by Charles Gatewood, one of the party men, they have passed an act which is known as the Pendleton Act. And in that Pendleton Act, they decided that the recruitment will be done through the competitive examination. They constituted a body which is known as the US Public Service Commission. But they brought reforms from time to time. 1978 onwards, they are having a system of recruitment where 4 different bodies are working together for the purpose of the recruitment, for the purpose of training, and for the purpose of promotion, and every activities that is carried out with them. So there, they are having a system which is based on the constitutional provisions they are having. In India, we are having a system. I told you that in the Constitution of India itself says in Chapter 2, Part 14 of the Constitution that there will be Union Public Service Commissions. It says about the system of the recruitment. It says about the promotions. It says about the various penalties on actions, punitive actions by the government against the civil servants. All these are there mentioned in the system. So the recruitment system, we say, it must be accepted according to the constitutional provisions. So the personal administration, what we find that it is something which is very important for the proper development of the nation with the help. It is said that in the past, the government has existed without independent judiciary. Government had existed without proper legislative body. But no government had existed without the administrative system or without the personals. We talk about the various countries which is there
in the Gulf countries or the kings that they are having, they do not have a proper judicial system. They're lacking judicial, independent judiciary, but it is existing. It is functioning very properly. There is a king who is ruling for so many years without an elections. That country is existing. It has been recognized by United Nations. It is working, but no example we can say. We can give where there is no personal and the government had existed. When we go through the Kautilya Arthashastra, there in 4th BC, you will find that Kautilya said about the structure of the administration that we are talking today. They said that there is Yukta, Upayukta, Tatpurusham. There is an officer, there is a clerk, there is a peon and chaprasis. So that old ages, there was a proper system of administration. The peoples having their authorities, positions, and on the basis of that they were functioning in the system of administration. So all these dynasties, Maurya dynasties and Gupta dynasties, they are having a system of administration, and that is existed in various documents available in archives. After that, when the Mughals came, they were having also a system of administration. They were having a system of administration which was known as the Mansabdari. Ek Hazari, Panch Hazari, Das Hazari. What does this mean? They said that there will be an administration, and on the basis of the strength in the form of an army and the form of arsenals required in the army system, that person will be given a designations. So the person who is having 5,000 of army, having 200 on horses, these were they with people, that person used to be given a designation of Ek Hazari. Then another person who is having 50,000 of the armies and having 2,000 of horses, the designation used to be Panch Hazari. More army and more horses and other equipment, Das Hazari. That was the system. Their structure was there on the basis of strength. Not only that, there is something which is given in this Mughals period. It says that if a person who has been designated as a Panch Hazari, for example, and if that person dies, then it does not mean that his son will be given that designation of Panch Hazari. No, that was not the system in the Mughals. The Mughal says that all this property which is left by that person will be attached to the government, to the king's property, and a meager amount will be given to the son of that person or family member. And if any person is having capability of gaining a strength and is in the position of growing, then if he grows and is making the strength, then he will be given the position in the form of Ek Hazari. After that, he is getting more power, he will become the Panch Hazari. But hereditary transfer was not there. What does mean? It shows the merit. The merit was the criteria which is there in the system of administration there. When the Britishers came, East India Company came, they gave the structure of administration also in the form of a covenant services, in the form of non-covenant services. That we say today, that gazetted officer and non-gazetted officer. The concept, the English peoples who used to occupy higher positions, they were known as the covenant servants, officers. And those peoples were Indians, mere little amount of the money were given, hard work is to be carried out by these people who were known as the non-covenant services. This is what the system we inherited all these acts that was been seen in the past in our constitution and in the modern India. We are having a merit system that the Mughals is having. We are having a different types of the setup in the administration, the norm of the covenant services, non-covenant services, the provincial services. We are having for all India services. We are having a central services. We are having a state services. What does means? That is what that was there in the British rule. This system of administration. And that is a very unique feature. Most of the country in the world which is having a federal structure, they are having two systems of the administration. One is the union or central system of administration. One is that state system of administration. But in India, in spite of having a federal structure, we are having three systems of administration. One in the name of All India Services, other is known as the Central Services, and then the third is known as the State Services. Central services, very clear, the person is appointed by the central government and is doing this, working in the central offices. State services, recruited by the state policies, state organizations, and working in that. But there is All India Services.
this all India services are the recruitment is done by the central agency, which is known as the Union Public Service Commission. But their posting is there in the state. After recruitment, they are given different state as a cadre, and the states rules are being carried out by these personnels. So these are the unique feature the administration we have adopted in our system. So we feel that for the proper functioning of administration, there need to be a proper personnel administration. And this personal administration is not only important for the government, it is important for everyone who's there in government services. It is important for every individual in the country to understand what is the personal system says in India, what rules says in India, and that is become the sole criteria of overall development of the nation. So there is a generally people who are joining this course, they want to know that actually what is the career opportunities in the personal administration. This personal administration, I told you that if any student wants to be part in the government agencies or to become the officer in the government sector, then they have to appear for the Union Public Service Commission test. And this personal administration is one of the very important subject in the test that has been carried out. When you go to the test, either in the Union Public Service Commission or the State Public Service Commission, or even the competitive examination is conducted by public sector enterprises, there this system is very important. This paper is very important, and it gives a number of the ideas which helps you to get success in this competitive examination. Now you come to the private sector also. The private sector focuses on the HR sector, and HR management sector. So the HR management sector, it is a very important sector of private, because there are number of the companies which are been there registered and working properly in the country. Huge number of the people are being recruited, but this HR sector needs a proper study of the personal administration. This helps them to identify the proper person for the proper place. The system of interview, the body language, their knowledges of the different areas of that institution, that says that is a need of study of the personal administration. There are very, very good books are available in the area that you want to go to study of the personal administration. There are the books which is, for example, a book written by Goel. It is very book related to the personal administration. There is a book which is written by Tyagi. That is a very good book written about says about the personal administration. Then we find that there is a book which is related for the competitive exam. If you want to prepare for the competitive examination, there is a brief knowledge of all those areas you want to face in the competitive examination. That we find a book which is Lakshmikant book. That is also giving a brief information of every topic that is essential for any competitive examination. Then Lakshmikant, that is the new area. There is a Mohit Bhattacharya book, is also a very good book relating to the personal administration. So you have a number of books that you can. This personal administration idea has come from the public administration. Book is Introduction to the Study of Public Administration. This book actually has given the theme where the administration has to do whatever the administration has to do. It is there in this book, and gradually the organization, study of organizations and various other part of the administrative activities have been carried out by different writers that we have said in the before. This session that we have, this session is a very comprehensive session that we have taken in the area of the personal administration. In the next session, we will want more lively sessions. Enthusiasm must be there in the participants so that we can have an holistically in the area of study of the public administration. So this area we can say is an interesting area,
And when the participants shows interest and comes with the questions and various ideas they are having, that becomes more lively. So we will try to have a proper system administration on the public administration. I request to the students also, they can give a feedback that is required for the courses, and also they can contact in the registered email ID, through registered email ID, and send their queries on that will be taken care of, and whatever you want to have from the field, that will be known to you. With this we can end this session, and thank you very much.